we've got a little bit to talk about here. So the new area coordinators, they've combined states into different things and made Fred Mowry is basically the West Coast AC now. So Washington, Oregon, California, there might be another one, I don't know. And Mike, Special K, is the Mountain West. I don't remember all the areas, but like Montana, Idaho, and a few other, Wyoming and Alaska or something like that. But both good changes, both good dudes. I've shot with them both. I've talked to them both. I've talked to them both about rules and stuff like that. And I think that the best way that I could describe it is that they are competitors, officials or competitors area coordinators. Like I think that they are have the best interest of competitors first. Not saying that they won't enforce the rules, but I think that and that's another aspect to this. They're both very good shooters. And I've said for a long time that if you're going to get into the officiating side of this sport, that you should be a really good shooter first, because there's just some things about shooting this sport at a higher level that you don't really understand until you've made it that far. And that's not to be a dick to anybody who wants to come in and do this at the marksman level, the sharpshooter level, or whatever. But to really understand what people are going to do or what a master might do on this stage, like it's good to be able to do it yourself. So those are both excellent choices. I'm glad to see them making that change. But with that in mind, that got me thinking, and a lot of us thinking over here, because a lot of us on the West Coast have been drifting away from IDPA because of the really the inability to be heard. And so if we're going to be heard, what would we like people to know that we think should change? And that came up with these 9 or 10 things. So let's get into that. 1 second per point down. 1 second per point down doesn't make any sense to me. It is so accuracy intensive. It is so over the top, in my opinion, that it just doesn't make any sense. If I were to ask you in 1996, what was the penalty per shot for 1 second or per 1 point down, what do you think it was? 0.3 second. It was the exact same as USPSA. A Charlie generally is thought of as 0.3 second if you were to quantify it into time. So it was the exact same as USPSA. It was only that way for 1 year, and in 1997 until 2017, it was a half second per point down. So for 9 years, since 2017, we've had 1 second per point down, and that's about when I started shooting this seriously, a couple years after that. And since that time, we've seen the numbers of IDPA. I've kept track myself. When I first started, it was just about 25,000. You can see it on IDPA.com, 25,000 members, or just below that in IDPA. Now we're at 20,800. I know that there's been some talk from people that, oh, we're still recovering from COVID. No, man, COVID is over. It's 6 years later. We're not recovering from COVID. We are dwindling because it's not all because of 1 second per point down, but it's part of it. And again, the inability or the lack of being heard from its membership, the people who pay for all this, is definitely a part of it. So I think changing it back, it's okay. We made a mistake. We'll call it the boomer years. We went from 2017 to 2027. We're the boomer years because I don't know who got into IDPA and made that change. But I had to imagine that he was an old timer who couldn't maybe keep up, because he's like, oh, we'll slow these guys down like this. So anyway, it would be more traditional IDPA to move back to half second per point down than it would be to stay. It's almost double the amount of time. Moving along with that, tactical reloads. Tactical reloads have never been a thing. They're not real. It's literally, they're not real. It's a made up thing that somebody in a 1980s gun magazine was like, this is what you should do. But nobody does it. So, I mean, like, I'm not the ultimate authority on this. Neither is the guy that I'm going to cite here. However, I spoke to John Correa. If you don't know who John Correa is, he's like the Masad Ayub of our generation, except his YouTube videos are not cringy. So, active self-protection, he's analyzed over 40,000 use of force incidents. He is an expert witness. He goes around the country doing this. And I messaged him and I said, hey, how many times have you seen in a civilian encounter a tactical reload? And he was like, never. Zero times has that ever happened. So like, it's just not It's just not real. It's not a thing. So I used to be on the train of, okay, the dropping an empty mag with one in the chamber is an interesting game dynamic because I think that you're going to shoot to, whatever, shoot all your rounds. But the idea that somebody's going to count it's just silly. So taking that away, reload where you want to, because that's really what's going to happen. I think if we're in a self-defense situation and you shoot 8 times and you're like, cool, I'm going to reload now, then okay. Also, you're not going to download your mags. So yeah, anyway, we'll talk about that in a minute. But going along with no tactical reloads, if we don't have tactical reloads in the game, we don't need vests that have huge pockets to drop mags into. So I don't think that anybody's really, and that's another thing, is in the game, nobody's doing it. There's a few people that do them and that are really good at them, but it's very few and far between because everybody's just dumping. If it's an 8-round array and I need to reload, they're going to shoot 2 more to 10 and reload if you're in 10-round division. So it's just, we can save some money. We'll save some money on rounds. It makes more sense. So, but like I said, no more vests, because if you don't need that, we can go back to looking like normal human beings again instead of running around in fishing vests. So I don't see a downside to it. You can wear a jacket, you can wear a t-shirt if you're shooting appendix, you can wear a button-up, short sleeve button-up, long sleeve button-up, anything that you want. But shooting in clothes that we actually wear, because I know a lot of people who shoot IDPA, and I know 0 people who can still carry with a fishing vest. Okay, I'm really going off a script this time because there's too much for me to, so remember, if I gotta go look at it again, sorry. Division capacity. Sure, in 1996, there were, like Glocks held more than 10, and there was a lot of guns that held 10 or right around there. But now, dude, our bug guns hold 10 at least, or in some cases 15 or more. So like, it just doesn't make sense to keep the divisions at 10. And, oh, Joe, what about the 10-round states? Like, well, I'm in a 10-round state, and nobody here shoots with 10-round mags because we all either have them from before or we get them. So I don't know. So it just doesn't seem to make any difference with the whole states. You can't do it in this state. So increasing the capacity for all the big divisions to 15 seems intuitive to me. I think bug and CDP, you can have 10-round mags. Make it 10. It just makes more sense. It makes they're very concerned usually with the game being speedy. Speeds the game up a bit. I think that would be quite helpful. Going along with that, if you're going to increase the mag capacity in all divisions, let's increase the stage round count capacity. If we, here's another tidbit from active self-protection. The adage of, I'm sure you guys have heard it, gunfight's going to be 3 rounds, 3 yards, 3 seconds. Turns out that's not true. So in I saw John talking about this on one of these symposiums where he goes and talking about it on one of those YouTube videos. And he's like, no, like we see most of it at 17 or 18 rounds because that's the capacity of a semi-auto, or 6 rounds because that's usually the capacity of a revolver. So like artificially making the round count lower in the guns doesn't make any sense. And so increasing it a little bit, if we were to increase the round count in the guns or the division capacity in the guns, just makes sense to me. Scoring. So overall, in general, moving it down to ½ second per point, I think would be an interesting game dynamic. However, PCSL, which we're going to talk about in a minute, they've got a really interesting game dynamic, and that's 1 shot to the head box neutralizes the target. It's down 0 in our verbiage, or 2 alpha for PCSL, and that's probably to me the most interesting game dynamic that has come along in the recent past. It's just more for a sport that's supposed to be based on defensive shooting and realism. It just makes way more sense for that to be an IDPA. So the down 0 4-inch head box has a little bit more surface area than it does in PCSL. That's an interesting thing in PCSL. They actually have the least amount of scoring zone of any of the targets, USPSA, IDPA, or PCSL, which is an interesting way to control accuracy because you have to be more accurate if your target is smaller. Camera review. Like in 1996, I get it. There weren't a lot of like personally handheld cameras. I'm certain, well, I'm not certain, maybe there was, but I doubt it. I don't think there were hat cams in 1996, so not having it makes sense. And from, I get it that, you know, the reason I've been told that we're not going to do camera review is because, oh, it's going to slow down the game. But that's not what the other sports are finding. They're finding that, you know, a camera isn't necessarily, you know, 100% going to show exactly what happened. It's not an every angle sort of thing, and I get that. However, there are a lot of whiners and criers and whining and crying that can be taken up by just looking at the camera. Like, here it is. We don't have to argue about a subjective call anymore. It's right there. And like I said, I get it that it's not going to be on the camera every time. And that sometimes the camera is going to show something or look different, but there's no reason not to have camera review. And I genuinely believe it will actually speed things up. And I know that's important to IDPA. They talk about it at every nationals, about the speed with which they got everybody through, which is, that's another thing. We're going to make that a checkbox here too. Like, just stop that. Like, I don't know that the RMR freaks out about that, but man, we shot 2 days of 12 or 14 stages and we were done by 2:30 every day. Like, we can do this. It's okay. So anyway, camera review is definitely something that we should be doing. This is kind of getting into like the meat and potatoes of really what I wanted to talk about. Member input. Like, this is going to be one of the most important things moving forward for IDPA that you've got to get a handle on, because the process that's in place now for tell your AC or tell your state coordinator, who then talks to the other area coordinators or other state coordinators, who then talk to the RACLs and talks to whoever the fuck somewhere. It's not producing anything, and it's not making it. Even if it is being like, we hear everything, we don't know the members, like the people down here that care about this and love this. Like, we're not hearing anything back, you know, except for once a year when a rule changes or 2 rules change, and we're like, okay, which one of us in what state was asking for that? There's just no way. So, like, establish some sort of survey system to find out what the people want. And I think that will be easier for you, for IDPA, to go, if we have a survey, like we're thinking about changing bug to bug optics. Okay, so let's put it out to the members. Hey, everybody, what do you think about bug optics? It would be much easier for IDPA or the area coordinator or whomever to say, Joe, shut up. Like, this isn't what the people want. Here's the data. They don't want this. So shut up. And okay, like, it would be so much easier than this subjective way of doing it. We put in fault lines so that we wouldn't have to make subjective calls anymore. Let's not do it with member input. Yeah, the bottom line on that, like, if you're open to improvement, input from members will only help you. If you want to do whatever it is you want to do and make it your own thing instead of a collaborative thing, then member input will only hurt you. So that's where we are with that. Social media. I don't want to talk about this one too much, other than to say, like I said before, since I've been shooting IDPA, the numbers are going down. And I see young people out there shooting, but like, the young people are on social media, man. That's where we're going to get new people brought into this sport and new people doing this. When you think about who's the face of IDPA, Joyce, I don't really know. I mean, like, we don't hear from her very often. I know that we've got the letter thing on the tactical journal, but like, we don't have anybody who's out there like on the socials doing this. So like, I don't know. I think that we're ignoring a really obvious tool. That video that the Humble Marksman did in about 2025 Nationals, like, that was the most exciting thing. I mean, like, of any of the shooting sports on social media, like, that was more interesting than most of even the shit I do with, like, oh, here's another gun, here's me trying another bug gun. Like, no, that is interesting. And to promote that, or to have IDPA or a sport doing that, and PCSL is doing it kind of, but to do that will really bring people into this. People see, like, okay, this guy, he's really good. Like, oh man, like, I want to shoot this, I want to try this. Like, that's how you get people in here. Yeah, the old ways of just talking face to face and telling people, hey, you should come, like, that isn't going to work. Yeah. So moving on, this one's going to be tough. It's the ban hammer. You got to get rid of the ban hammer. Because, I mean, like, and I'm not saying that there aren't very legitimate instances where somebody deserves to be banned. There are. Like, if somebody's calling up IDPA HQ and they're yelling at people or cussing at people or just generally being a nuisance or harassing people, like, absolutely, kick them out, fine. But the idea that the sport is like watching YouTube shorts or somebody's match video on Facebook and then calling up a local match director and being like, we don't like this guy or what he did, he's got to go. Like, come on, man. Like, this is a professional organization, or it ought to be, and that's not really professional behavior. Like, you should just not do that. And I know that some of those situations are perpetrated by ACs and SCs, because when the situation that happened here, which I won't get into too much, happened, I got calls from or text messages or Facebook messages and Instagram notes from people being like, this is what my AC did to me. I can't work a major because my AC just doesn't like me, or my state coordinator did this, or I wanted to work nationals, but IDPA told me that I can't talk on Facebook if I want to work national. It's just silly. At some point, like I'm doing it right now, I'm going to say things you don't like. And every time that I post a video, somebody tells me, you say too much, your face is ugly or something. Like, it's just, you just gotta, it's part of being out in the public sphere. Like, just be okay with it. It's the same thing I tell match directors when they get all mad when somebody exploits a rule that is legal for them to do and breaks their stage. It's like, well, learn from it and don't be so upset about it. So, I mean, like, put the ban hammer away. Unless it's legitimate. Sometimes it is. Okay. This one's kind of big. The elephant in the room for IDPA, for USPSA, and that is other sports. So it used to be that IDPA or USPSA could be like, oh, well, if you don't like us, there's the other one. You can go shoot IDPA or you can go shoot USPSA. But now that's not a thing. Like, we've got more, especially in the defensive area. I know for a fact that PCSL has been like, hey, we're going to create defensive divisions with the intention of poaching shooters from IDPA. Like, well, that's what we're going to do. And they have. That sport, along with the defensive divisions, is good. Like, it's good. It's fun. And I don't know if you guys have seen the footage that came out of that belt match. I really wanted to go to that, and I wish I would have. But anyway, it is like, I mean, they were shooting out of a van. They're doing all this. That's one of the fun things about IDPA is we're doing all this wonky shit, jumping out of vans and shooting, from a table or whatever. But they were doing stuff like that, and it a hit factor scoring, and they controlled, because like one of the things that IDPA that differentiates IDPA is that it's more accuracy intensive, right? Well, they figured that out in hit factor. They have the smallest scoring zones for alphas of any sport. You have to be more accurate. They figured it out. So like the idea that we're just going to sit back and, we'll keep talking to people and hopefully the sport will grow and everything will be good. Like, it won't. It's, if we don't modernize, like, I'm not going to say like it'll be gone in a year, or in the short term it won't still exist, but in the long term we'll continue to see decline in IDPA. So I don't want to see that. And, I think that this is something that's worth doing and worth saving. If I didn't think so, I wouldn't be doing this. And the other thing, guys, GPA. I don't know. Every time I get on Facebook, there's another advertisement for another match that I know used to be an IDPA match that is now going to be a GPA match. So I know IDPA's got to be seeing that too. And you got to be thinking, like, why is this happening? Well, I mean, the time with which we can ignore that, it's over. Like, it's time to modernize and change the things and listen to the members and change the things that need to be changed. And this is just a list of it, a short list, but here it is. Yeah. So, I mean, that's really what I wanted to leave you guys with. This isn't just me trying to be a jerk. Like I said before, I'm a dude, like, I started doing these videos as a way of, like, I don't have anything else to do because the bug thing and everything else. Like, I sent letters. I talked to my AC. I talked to the AC. I sent letters to HQ and just never heard anything back. And that this has like been the only avenue that I've found to get people talking about this, is to put my stupid face in front of my phone and make videos. So like, but it's been not, I mean, like not terribly effective, but like it gets people talking about it. So like there are ways to get people talking about this and to hopefully change things. So anyway, I think IDPA has the framework to be like one of the better sports if we just get out of our own way sometimes. That's it. If you have the time and the means, check out www.dz-214.com, where you can donate to all the vetted veterans charities that we support. Sorry, I always chuckle right then because I think I'm going to screw up the verbiage there. But anyway, nothing big on the horizon. We're waiting for the Turtle Creek bug match, which sounds awesome, looks awesome. I'll be there at the beginning of September. It's the week before Nationals, so you should go. You should just take the whole week off. Like, this is what you do anyway. Like, we don't, like, my work is my hobby, and this is what I do. And you should do it too. And then Nationals after that. So that's really the only two majors that I've got left for the year. So we'll see you around there sometime.